Welcome to the Michigan Outdoors Report podcast, your weekly escape into the world of hunting, fishing, and everything wild in between. Whether you're deep in the woods, out on the water, or planning your next adventure, you're in the right place. So let's gear up and get out there.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Michigan Outdoors Report. I am joined tonight by my co-hosts, Dennis Poet from Southeast Michigan and Tim White from the Northern Lower. Dennis, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Great. Just chomping at the bit to get to the woods. I'll be there first thing in the morning. Got turkey tag.
Oh, man, fall turkey.
Yeah. I'll be out there too. Tomorrow's early doe season.
Yep.
Yeah.
Boy,
So
what
we'll
would you do, Dennis, if you hung a tag on a turkey and a doe?
be sweating because I got to get all that out the woods. It's going to be like 80 degrees tomorrow. And I'll be fighting bugs in the garage while I'm skinning it.
No, that's right. Tim, what are you up to, my friend?
Hey, Jordan. Hey, I wish I could say I was doing a lot of fun, exciting things, prepping for season, but then I'd be lying. I've been putting a lot of hours in at work. Had a busy week last week, had to leave town for work. This last weekend, Dennis and I went down to the Point Malay Waterfowl Festival, so I was down there. So it's kind of cool. I was in Sault Ste. Marie on Thursday and Monroe, Michigan on Friday, so from one end of the state to the other. I did get out yesterday. I had to do a little fine-tuning on my deer scouting because the area I was looking at just wasn't producing any pictures. So I went in, I found a couple more good spots, hung the camera up there. So we'll see what that produces. But quite honestly, I'm counting down till October 5th. That's the start of our deer camp, and that's quite honestly going to be my first chance to get out and hit the deer woods.
How was the Waterfowl Festival? Tell us a little bit about that. How'd that go?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Tremendous turnout. They had, I think, close to 100 vendors. They had dog competitions. They had layout shoot competitions. There was a duck hunt competition at one point. Live bands, food, lots of stuff. They had a ton of stuff geared towards the kids, and it was pretty cool. We went down there on behalf of MOR, obviously, and we had a very positive, I would say overwhelmingly positive response. We're pretty well known in that part of the state. So it's kind of cool to connect with those that listen to us, watch us, follow us on social media, whether it be Facebook or Instagram, YouTube, you name it. It was just pretty cool. So sold a little bit of merch, met a lot of cool kids. We were kind of really aiming towards, the kids, getting the kids over. We had a little Nerf gun, duck hunt, shoot type thing set up, and the kids absolutely love that. So it was just fun, just connect, and it was a cool experience. I don't know what Dennis thought of it, but I had a blast.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I like the responses we got and the smiles on them kids' face. Especially that one boy. He came back a second day.
Yeah. Funny enough, this kid that Dennis is referring to, his 2-year-old little boy, he absolutely loved it. He came back to our tent, I think 2 or 3 different times, but he's from Sheboygan. So he's just up the road from me from where I live, and we had to go all the way to Monroe, Michigan to meet each other.
Wow, what a small world it can be sometimes, hey?
Yep.
I personally have actually never waterfowl hunted, not a single time. Fall for me has always been just a frenzy of things to get done. Before that UP winter starts to settle in, there's bear hunting going on, there's deer prep. It's just a tremendously busy time of year. But this year I had an invitation from somebody within the DNR who's a very accomplished goose hunter to come out and participate with him. So I think I'm going to take him up on it this year. He's got all the gear and everything. I asked him, so what do I need to bring? He says, yourself. So you can't beat that, right? But Tim or Dennis, have you guys ever done any waterfowl hunting yourselves?
Not really. I've gone on just a handful of goose hunts. That was it. I never really took to it. It's deer season.
Yeah, I've never had the opportunity either. I'd like to go. I'd like to try a goose hunt. I know Brad and Bill we've been trying to plan this for a couple of years now, and we just can't ever get our schedules to align. So, Jordan, I don't know where it's at, but if you got room for another, let me know. I'd love to try that out sometime.
Yeah. I've never done it, like I said, so I don't know what to expect. I mean, obviously, like anybody else, I've seen videos of waterfowl hunting, goose hunting, whatever, and I don't know. It kind of seems like ice fishing with a gun. Get these two guys sitting in a shack, and right, and you can. That's the nice thing about waterfowl or fishing, is you can kind of chew the fat about whatever and carry on conversation. You can eat your snacks or whatever. It ain't like deer hunting, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely looks like a great time.
Yeah, I'd like to try to film it. I really would. That'd be a lot of fun, I think.
Well, tonight, now that we've started off topic and done a tremendous job rambling, which I'm sure we'll repeat throughout the course of this show.
Hey, stick
We're
with what you know.
Or what I don't. Fake it till you make it, right? um, we're going to get in the weeds on the tools of the trade when it comes to deer hunting. And it's going to be a really broad topic. We're going to talk about cover scents. We're going to talk about tree stands. We're going to talk about trail cameras. We're going to talk about game calls. We're going to talk about rattling. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of crap. There's so much that goes into the deer hunter's arsenal. And man, I don't think there's any two deer hunters that would agree on the same call or that would agree on the same tree stand. Our opinions and the things that we use are as diverse as we are. So I guess I'll lead off on this one. Let's just dive in with trail cameras. You know, leading up to hunting season, there are a plethora of podcasts from the bro hunters out there about trail camera placement and strategy and all this stuff. And it's really technical. I'm going to tell you what, I buy dirt cheap Wild Game Innovations trail cameras, bottom of the barrel, still using the SD card, no cell plan for me, baby. And I've had good luck with them over the years. I mean, yeah, I'm not getting a 4K Ultra HD image of the buck at 400 yards through the woods, but it does what I need it to do, and it's cost effective. Dennis, what's your persuasion with trail cameras?
Cheaper than that. I get the what they call the Tascos from Walmart. That's like the bottom of the barrel. I think I paid well, it don't hurt so bad if somebody steals that one. I think half the time they walk by it and they look at it and be like, man, he's broke. I ain't taking that. I feel bad for stealing that. No, I just keep it simple, man. I have no cell cams yet. I am going to break down and I got to get one, especially for the area that I'm hunting. I got one particular buck, and I really do want to know when he shows up. Sorry, if I'm down the street or doing hunting somewhere else, that thing starts ringing, man. I'm dropping everything.
5-alarm fire.
Yep.
How about you, Tim? What kind of trail cams do you prefer?
Yeah, so I'm running I've got the Moultrie series cell cams, which I'm a newbie at that. I've had one for 2 years, and I just went out and bought 2 more because I found out that I love having the cell cameras. Prior to that, I stopped running trail cameras for quite a while because what I found is there's a temptation there. Oh man, I wonder if any deer came in. So I'm going in and out of my prime hunting spots because that's where you hang your camera at. Walking in and out, leaving scent because I ain't gonna lie, I probably got very careless at it. So I found the temptation to be too much. So I really got away from trail cameras for probably about, I would say 3 or 4 seasons, just to eliminate that temptation. And so, I heard all the rave about the cell cameras and you get the pictures right to your phone. I'm like, well, let's see what this fuss is about. So yeah, I got the one 2 years ago and I liked it. The information obviously is valuable. Kind of get an inventory of the deer in the area, might be able to pick up some behavioral information from the pictures you're getting. So it's really nice to get that shot right to your phone and just have that information really in the palm of your hand. So that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I've had all kinds of different brands, man. And to be honest with you, the ones I found out that last the longest are the Moultries and the Cuttybacks. The Cuttyback's a pretty good one. But the Wild Game Innovations, they do the trick. But I've had quite a few of them take a crap on me within a year, maybe 2. But still got old Moultries hanging around. It's still working after like 10 years.
Yeah, I've not tried any other brands, so I mean I can't really, tell you what works better than the other. All I can tell you is I've been really happy with my Moultrie cameras. Obviously, they're going to use more battery because you're not just snapping pictures, you're seeking out a signal and you're transmitting data and all that stuff. I found the battery life to be really good on these Moultrie cameras, and I'm in the northern lower, and some of these spots where I have my cameras, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know how far from a cell tower I am. So I would imagine that they should be eating up batteries, but the one I have here at my house, I have not changed out the batteries probably since August of 2024. And if it's accurate, I still have 40% battery life on that camera. So to me, that's
Wow.
that's
great.
outstanding. And I'm just running the Meyer Power Cell, I think they're called. It's just a blue battery, double A. And so it's nothing fancy. I'm not using lithium or nothing like that, but I think that's outstanding performance in my mind. It
Yeah.
survived the winter.
A lot of guys I talk to up here, they really have good things to say about the Browning and the Spy Point line of cameras. Those seem to be the two most popular ones up here. I don't know. I'm cheap when it comes to trail cameras, and I live in bear country. We got a ton of bears. If I lose a camera, it's because a black bear decided he needed it more than I do, not because a human being took it. There's always like the christening of the trail camera to start the year. It's the inaugural nose print photo and the tongue slurping and the eyeball and all of that stuff. But when those things happen and I lose a $50-$60 trail camera, I'm not too heartbroken about it. Well, moving on from trail cams, but I guess hand in glove with trail cameras, stands, tree stands. You got climbers, you got the old traditional hang-ons, but you've had this new era of, I'll call them tactical stands, come about, like your Lone Wolf series and your XOP, that lightweight, high-speed, low-drag stuff. And then you've had the evolution of the saddle systems. I myself don't use a climber. I don't have any of the ultra lightweight Lone Wolf stuff. I've been eyeballing saddles a little bit, but I've got old school hang-ons, man. And I still put them things on my back. I use combination of tree stands and hub blinds both, depending on where I'm at, what I'm doing. And they work. Are these other products maybe lighter, faster, more user-friendly? Probably. And maybe when I get a little older and the arthritis sets in a little more, maybe I'll want it easier, but I don't know. Right now, I'm just a glutton for punishment. Dennis, what are you running, buddy?
Running away from climbing. Right now I got a few on the hang-on stands, old dinosaurs, man. I don't get rid of nothing. When they get real old, I got some that are probably over 20 years old, and the cables get bad and stuff. You can't find a replacement, so I usually swap them out with a chain I get from the hardware store. Galvanized chain, replace all the bolts, makes the thing even heavier. but but yeah, I know it ain't going nowhere. And I can keep rocking the old stuff, but I'm getting away from that, trying to, because it's getting harder for me to climb. And I'm swapping some stuff out before season. I got a couple ladder stands I'm going to hang. But I do both. Usually I'm either in the stand or on the ground hunting in a ground blind.
What do you think those hub blinds? And I'm sure you've seen them. That from the outside it's fully camo, but on the inside it's 360 degrees of visibility. You seen them things?
Yeah, I got to hunt out of the first one I ever hunted with was Tim during the turkey season, and it was great except for one like blind spot right in the top. You remember that, Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were kind of on a hill anyway, so we had to kind of squat down. We sit up, we couldn't see nothing. We had to squat down and look out the window, basically see this thing coming down the hill.
Yeah, I think that was more the angle of the hill.
I just wonder how those are going to be in the winter. It's basically a screen. I want to keep the heat in, you know what I mean?
The other thing that crossed my mind about that when I stepped inside when I was at Cabela's over in Green Bay, and my wife's like, honey, you got to see this. So I come over there and I look and I'm like, what? It's a ground blind. She goes, no, you got to come in here. Oh, wow. That's interesting. She says, you think you'd like one of these? And I said, yeah, maybe for the first 3 weeks of October. And after that, not so much. You ain't going to keep the wind out of them
It,
things for nothing. That's the other side to me that I think is an advantage of a traditional hub blind with that normal nylon material is it gives you a little scent control, especially if you, like I do, I'll take and I'll
mhm.
mound up dirt around the bottom of it so it's got a seal. And I keep all of my
Yep.
windows up except my shooting window, which helps it stay dark inside the blind too, masks my movement. But man, that thing, just a wide open screen, I gotta imagine your scent is just flying everywhere in one of them things.
Probably when you're eating a big bowl of chili for breakfast and washing it down with some coffee.
What kind of stuff are you running, Tim?
So I am using the lightweight setups now. So I have a XOP stand that I bought, I think it was 2 years ago. I've only been running it for a couple of years now,
Mm-hmm.
and have the light compact sticks also, which provides me to be more mobile. I can throw everything on my back. I would say total setup, it's probably about 15 pounds, maybe 16 pounds. That way I can have one stand and kind of go wherever I want. I can make fine tune adjustments. If I get in an area and I continuously see deer just out of my range, I can try to move over. But prior to that, I mean, here at the house, I got some property. I've got ladder stands set up there because I've got some pretty solid spots, so that's real easy. Climb up, climb down. I do have some of the old sticks. The three large pieces that you put together with an old hang on. So I mean, I have everything, but my main stand that I use now is that lightweight. I've used climbers in the past too. I still have a climber. It's probably 30 years old, I would say now. But to be dead honest with you, that is the most comfortable stand that I have. I can sit in that thing all day long and just be totally comfortable and relaxed. So if I can find the right spot, especially for a rut, I'll take that stand out because I can sit in there all day and just not get fidgety, not get cold, not get sore butt, stiff back, anything like that. So I kind of have a little bit of everything.
That's the Cadillac, huh?
Yep. So I have the entry level. The XOP is kind of like your entry level lightweight hang on stands. There's a whole bunch of different brands out there now. There's Elevate, there is Beast, there's Lone Wolf. You can really spend quite a bit of money on that stuff too. But XOP I think is definitely budget friendly, and I want to make sure. I don't know how you guys are, but if I get into something new, I always want to make sure I'm not dumping a bunch of money because what if I don't like it? What if this doesn't work out for me? I don't
Really?
want to have wasted my money. So I will say I've enjoyed the XOP stand. It's been good. I think I'd like to upgrade at some point in time because it is a good hunting style for me.
Well, Andre Diacazito over at Lone Wolf, if you're listening to this, we would be happy to provide field testing services for whatever your latest, greatest model happens to be.
I was thinking something like that myself. I was going to say, if you guys are watching, we could use a sponsor.
You know, with tree stands, there's some interesting things to talk about too. Like one of the things that I started doing over the later years of my tree stand usage was looking for ways to make it quieter. Just as an
Hmm.
example, you're climbing up into your stand in the black of the morning and you've done everything right. Your approach is perfect. The wind is right. The conditions are everything you want them to be. You're climbing up those aluminum climbing sticks with your rubber muck boots on, and it goes all the way up, and you can't
And then you
shut it
hear,
out. I've been there, man. Just goofy stuff like that, or the safety hazard. It's snowy. It's icy. It's been a long all day sit. You're tired. Your legs ain't working quite right. You go to get down out of your tree stand and your foot slips off the peg. I've been there too. One of the things I started doing was coating them in tread tape like you'd use
mm,
on stairs. Like you can get that.
yeah,
It's like a sandpaper consistency. You can find it usually in the 3M section at Walmart, Myers, your hardware store, whatever, where all like the adhesives are and things like that. That tread tape is awesome. It shuts your boots up, gives you a sure grip on the pegs. I really appreciated that stuff. That was a huge help. And the other thing I did too was I took shrink tubing and I put it on the cables. I put it on the chains. I did all that kind of stuff. I coated it so it was all quiet. There's no clang, there's no bang, there's no ding, there's no nothing. And that's really hard to do with the old hang-on stands. I don't know how these new things are. I mean, some of them are probably carbon now, aren't they?
Yeah, they use definitely lightweight materials. Carbon's definitely one of those. A lot of the straps now are your real thick, heavy-duty nylon straps, so you're going to minimize noise that way. That won't make up for your boots, though, squeaking on them. So they got to figure that out. But yeah, this stuff's so lightweight. You can get a 4-pack of steps, and each step, weighs less than a half a pound. It's pretty insane anymore. So
yeah, they've come such a long way. One of the other changes I made over the years as I got a little older too. Now, when I was a young pup and didn't weigh nothing, I just used a couple of stock standard ratchet straps to secure that sucker to the tree. Let me tell you what, as I got older, I'm like, hey, what kind of ratchet straps you got in here? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we got this, we got that. So, no. I want something I can hang a tractor off a tree with. Right. That's what I want. I want to set
I'm
that
still
thing
doing that.
so tight I can't even get it off. I don't know.
Right.
I don't mind swaying with the tree, right? Like I'm used to that. But man, if there's any wiggle, jiggle, or give in that stand, I tell you what, pucker factor goes up exponentially.
Yep. I strap mine with 1,000-pound straps every year.
And this is a great time to segue into a PSA. You got people who love you at home, whether it's a mom or a dad, uncles, aunts, brothers, cousins, sisters, your wife, your children. Don't be an idiot. If you're going up a tree, wear a safety harness. Strap in, clip in. People counting on you to come back home in one piece. Don't cut corners. All the money that we spend on hunting, God's sakes, you can afford a safety harness. You can afford one of those hunter specialty drop lines. It's a simple thing. It could save your life. Don't cut the corners. So moving on from tree stands, I guess we kind of touched on ground blinds a little bit, but there are so many of those things out there too. I kind of fell in love again with a cheapie. There's this little company called Ameristep, and they sell these bare bones basic hub blinds. And man, there's one that they make called the Brick House, and there's another one, I think it's called Caretaker. They've got a vertical window in them. It's more narrow and it's tall. It's an archery window is what it is, but it's a slot. And man, I love that. Is what annoys the crap out of me with these other blinds is like a sash design, right? Like you got to have half the blind opened up and pulled up to be able to shoot out of it. I don't like that. I had a couple of baronets early on in my hunting career too, and they were big. But it's the same thing. You got to have the whole bloody window unzipped. And up here in the Great White North Country, and it's nice not to have the whole blind open. I'll admit, I like being sheltered from the wind inside my little hidey hole. And those little Ameristep blinds for the money, man, they've worked great for me. What kind of stuff are you running, Dennis, when it comes to ground blinds?
Well, I got a couple of Ameristeps. I've got it's called Doghouse. It's a cheap one that coils up and goes in a bag. Real simple. It's supposed to be a 2-man, but maybe 2 anorexic men, but not a fat guy like me with some camera equipment. Need butter to get in the doorway. But yeah, I use those, and the one with the hubs that I got is made by Cabela's. It's a Cabela's brand. I can't remember what they called it, but it's got instead of zippers, it's got the silent slides for all the windows and stuff. And
those are nice.
Yeah, it's really nice, and it's super thick too. It keeps you warm in there for sure. And with that one, there's a lot of room. I could actually fit probably 4 guys in that thing with the camera equipment.
I'm not loyal to any specific one. I've kind of used all sorts of different ones. I would say I've had baronets in the past, and I like how those are built. They're pretty solid. They're the solid black all the way on the inside. I did break down. Honestly, I was just intrigued by the price point, but I did buy one of those see-through Tidewee blinds. I've had that for a couple years now, and Brad can probably speak more on this, as far as holding heat and everything. But They definitely, if it's a windy day, the wind's going to cut through on those because, like you guys had mentioned, it's basically a screen material is what you have there. But is it truly beneficial? I don't think so. It's just a cool feature. Like I said, I bought it more for the price point, but I'm not brand loyal. I definitely think a ground blind serves a great purpose, though. Hunting is situational, and if you're trying to move in on a deer, sometimes you're not going to have that perfect tree unless maybe you're a saddle hunter. From what I understand, saddle hunters can pretty much get anywhere they want to practically. I know even with my mobile setup, there's still a lot of variables there that you have to keep in mind. Pine trees are probably out of the equation. There's just too many branches. It's just too hard to maneuver up and down. And that might be out of the equation for a saddle hunter. But anyways, those hard to get areas with the stand, a ground blind is a great option. I used to have this thought that you need to put it out there for like a month so that the deer get used to it. That's not the case. I can tell you can set a ground blind out and 30 minutes later, if a deer is walking through, they're going to walk through. They might stop and look at you for a second like, what's that?
Too late.
But they're right in there. So it's too late for them. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm using. Just one of those see-through tide weed blinds right now.
Brad, what do you got up your sleeve when it comes to ground blinds, buddy?
Well, I'm a big man, so I've been a ground blind hunter for a while. I also run the Tide Wees as of right now. I have found with them that they don't stand up to the sun very well. I am running the see-through blinds, and I learned another very valuable lesson. I really don't like them anymore for one reason. I like the way they design the windows. They've got a very quiet slide window. It's almost like a double bowl blind. The way that it slides on a little plastic track on the side, so you can kind of adjust it in between the hub arms and stuff like that really easily. Where you were saying how the elongated windows, you feel like you got to have the hub all the way open. With these ones, it's so quiet and so smooth. You can actually just leave a slit and you can slide down each corner you need to when it's time to take a shot. If you have some deer coming in, there's absolutely no noise involved. But what I did learn was that see-through mesh, and nobody probably thinks of this. There's probably 4 different versions. There's 150 weight, there's a 300 weight, but there's also a 360 and there's a 270 view. The problem with it boiling down to is when you've got your front windows cracked and you don't really think about this. So say you got a deer coming in from your left side, you've got your right side windows behind you completely closed, but you're creating a silhouette because inside that blind you can see out, right? They can't see in. Well, all those little tiny holes are lighting up your silhouette as that window's open to your left side, and every time you move, it creates a problem inside that blind. It creates a shadow. I didn't notice it until last year, sitting in my ground blind, and I had a very close encounter with a doe. And I'm telling you right now, I think all I did was tip my head down like this, and she picked up real quick, and I was like, there ain't no way she's seen me move. I'm in full camo. I'm inside this blind. I can see her. She can't see me. I didn't move my legs. I didn't move my body. And then she started doing that look around inside, and it was like she was looking through me, not at me. She blew and took off, and I had to look around like, what caused the problem? Well, at that exact moment, my monopod slid down the edge of that blind behind me, and it was nothing but a big shadow going across it because you could see the light coming through, but they can't see it from the outside unless they're on the opposite side of the blind. So they're good quality blinds. I really like the design of the Tide Wees. I like Tim said, it's a good affordable blind. I left my big one out since last season, which I just tore down the other day because I finally put in an actual hard elevated blind. And it really didn't hold up that well, to be completely honest with you. I've got the dog house. I've got 2 of the dog houses like Dennis was talking about. Those are great for mobile hunting. Tim and I took it on last year up at my cottage, and we went over and found a lake and set up around this lake. And that's, Tim, if you remember, that's what I was hunting out of, was a dog house. and I was able to pop that little blind in the smallest little spot underneath a pine tree, and I was pretty well hidden. They're small, but they're just big enough to where you can set up your one camera, and it becomes kind of tough to put up the GoPros and stuff too because there's not a lot of shoulder room. But for me, I've been stuck a ground blind hunter for a while. Tim and I set up in on the first 2 hunts, I think, in one of my large 3 to 4 person tied weeds that we set up back behind my cottage. And I mean, we were pretty cozy. I felt like we were pretty cozy. We had a lot of room in there. We had the camera on a tripod. We had all my crap in there with my bag and Tim's bag, and they're roomy, but I don't know. I guess it boils down to quality, and I do like the Ameristeps. I've been hunting the tide weeds the last couple of years, and like Tim said, it's you may think you got to set them up a month early, but I've found that I've shot deer 20 minutes after I set the blind up and look up and there's a deer out in front of you. You know what I mean? So I don't know how many times you guys have been in your blind first thing in the morning and you're rustling around, and next thing you know, you look up and holy crap, there's a deer right there, and you were making noise, pulling your sandwiches out, getting your chicken noodle soup together, pouring a cup of coffee, and there's a doe sitting there staring at you going, "You got a cookie, bro?" I don't know. It's I think it all boils down to you get back to when you're a ground hunter, play that wind. You gotta fight against their senses.
One adaptation that I had to make years and years ago when the hub blinds first hit the market, we get a lot of snow up here. At times, it can be a foot or more in one shot, just overnight. There's nothing more demoralizing than walking in the dark of the morning and going, "Where is my blind?" And you pull out your Onyx and you're like, "I'm standing right here. Where's?" And then it dawns on you. It's been crushed to the ground and it's under 18 inches of heavy, wet snow. And you no longer have a deer blind. A real redneck solution that we came up with, necessity being the mother of invention, right? Is we ran down to whatever the dollar store was there and we bought every telescopic shower pole they had on the rack. And when we leave our blinds after the hunt, you telescope that shower rod in there and you lock that sucker in, and man, it can snow 2 feet. It doesn't matter. That roof is going to shed that snow. So just a little pro Uper tip there, man. If you don't want to buy a new hub blind every year, buy the telescopic shower pole. Save yourself some money.
Hey, Tim, what have I been talking about for the past 4 years? Tim and I have had this discussion every year. So I take 2 pieces of metal conduit, 1/2 inch, 1 3/4. It's funny how they perfectly slide together. And then I take a hose clamp and I set it to the height that I need it. I hose clamp it and then I electrical tape it so it's always the same height. I don't got to worry about telescope and set it every time I walk on a blind. I still had a lot of problems with the this past year because the wind would pop them up and it pops them off that little nub and that pole would fall over and I'd still get buried. But yeah, no, I've done the same thing, Jordan. It does become kind of a pain in the butt when you get out there in the woods and the blind's gone.
Well, and I always tend to, I don't know what it is, but I tend to end up tucked up under a hemlock or a cedar or something. It's good cover, good scent cover too. And man, when the snow lets go off of those pine trees and 500 pounds of snow comes crashing down, oh, it's a sad day. But a couple other things real quick on ground blinds. One of the things that I always do, and maybe I'm just a nerd and maybe I'm obsessive compulsive about it. When I set up a ground blind, man, I go in there and I take my limb saw and I use that thing like a comb, man, and I groom the floor right down to the dirt. There ain't a leaf, there ain't a stick, there's not a twig, there's not an acorn, there's not a nothing on the floor in my ground blind. I like to be able to move my feet and stretch out, be comfortable, and not make any noise. You guys do the same thing?
Yes, sir.
That's a must move there, like you said. Yeah. Last thing you want to do is step on a twig or have some leaves under there or something. And because let's be real, you can get pretty comfortable in those ground blinds, sometimes a little too comfortable, and you may not be paying attention to what's going on around you. And then you get to move a little bit, maybe stretch, and you ruffle some leaves and you hear Yeah. Great call there, Jordan.
Shoot
I'm about
through mesh. I won't do it. I
no.
absolutely won't do it. I know people that haven't had a problem, and I've never had a problem either because I've never done it. I got like in my Ameristep line, I got like the Velcro strips, right, that hold the mesh up. No, 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 no. I take that right down. That is a wide open slot. I am just crazy about it. I don't want anything coming in contact with my arrow other than the vitals of that deer. That is it.
Right.
Yep.
How do y'all feel
Yep.
about shoot through mesh?
No, thank you. You can keep it. Maybe with a gun.
You trying to burn it down, Dennis?
I will never take a shot at a deer through see-through mesh. Just not going to happen.
Brad?
No, I'm with you on the see-through mesh. I'm a mechanical blade shooter with my crossbow, and I don't trust it. I don't care. They tell you that it'll tear easily, which I've tore a couple of them in the past. Setting them up or whatever, trying to take it off, and it comes apart. But I don't trust it. I will say this though, my beautiful young niece can tell you that the ground blinds, the corners of the ground blinds, they will redirect a bullet for you if you don't stick the barrel all the way out of the ground blind when you're taking a shot with your 450. Puts a nice hole through the side of the blind too. Makes it, you get a new peep sight.
I had a similar experience with a muzzle loader one time. I thought I had it all the way out the window when in fact I did not. And well, there's no more mesh for that window.
Right. That was the end of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on from ground blinds, an often debated topic is calls. Grunts, bleats, young buck grunt, old buck grunt, fawn bleat. Doe and estrus can call. Rattling antlers. There's so many different options out there. Myself, over all the years I've hunted, I can count on one hand the number of times where I know that a deer directly and immediately responded to a call. It doesn't seem like they're very responsive here. But I watch stuff like down in Texas, man, you bang a couple of sticks together, even like antlers. I mean, they are coming. It's not that way up here.
No.
I don't know what it is about our deer, but you better get your call right. You better use it at the right time, or I think you're actually doing more harm than you are good. And I mean, I've experimented with all different kinds of stuff. I had, Dr. Ken Nordberg back in the day. He made these specialty grunt calls. I had one of those things. I had a couple from Big River Game Calls. I had, what was that, Waddell's call there, the Flex Tone. I tried that thing for a while. What was the latest one there? Was it, it's like Black Magic or something like that?
The extinguisher.
Yes.
And then they had the rattle racks that went with it that I think was called like the Black Rack system or something like that.
Yep, that's what it was.
I've got it.
I had one of those little Primos, can calls, the doe and heat. One of those things, it sounds like
sounds like SpongeBob.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I don't know. I personally only ever had luck with like an intermediate grunt that would simulate an adult doe or a juvenile buck. That's the only thing that's ever really seemed to work for me, and primarily just around the rut. What about you, Dennis?
Well, I don't do any calling at all till about the 26th. I try to stay quiet because I don't want them to peg my location. I won't do it. Yeah, as far as calls, I've pretty much had them all too. But what I've learned too, it's always the young buck that they respond to. It's not like the big dominant buck sound and the snort wheeze and all that. To be honest with you, I've seen more deer run from a snort wheeze than than I've had come in. Rattling too, it's tough up here. That's for sure. I've had maybe 4, maybe 5 experiences where I've actually had them come running in. I got what they call a rack pack. I think I'm trying to think who makes that thing. I want to say Night and Hail, maybe. I could be wrong, but it's this green knobby thing that slaps together like that.
Oh yeah.
Pull it apart and rattle. Yeah, it's
Yep.
it don't take up much room in the pack, and the thing's loud, man. The thing carries a long ways, and the harder you hit it, the louder it gets. But you can do it soft, and that's usually what I do. I just tickle them together, and get responses. But mainly, it's just from little bucks coming in that's curious.
You
But
remember the old, I think they called it the battle bag. It was like, I don't know, 8 or 10 inches long and maybe like
Hmm.
5 inches
wood.
wide. And it was filled. Yeah, with the wood, and you just mash it all together and make this racket.
Yep, I think my uncle still has one floating around his garage somewhere.
What about you, Tim?
So I'm the exact opposite of Dennis. I like to do, I guess, excessive calling. Some would call it. As far as calls, though, I'll get into that first. I think I've had everything. One of my favorite calls is the original Loman. I don't know if you guys remember Loman calls. They were like one of the first ones to come out with the deer call, and gosh, I think I still have mine. I don't think it works anymore. It's sold. That company's not in business anymore, I don't believe. So I just keep it for nostalgia. That thing worked great. I got one of the deer extinguishers because I bought into the hype. It was going to help me shoot a booner every sit. And it sounds great. I do like the sound of the extinguisher. I did find that it does not perform in cold weather at all. If that reed gets exposed and it's cold out, you're just going to hear air blowing through a tube. So currently, I have one of our partners, JPO Game Calls. They make a couple different deer calls. It sounds really good. It is one of the adjustable ones, similar to the deer extinguisher. So you can slide the reed up and down, and you can sound from a fawn all the way up to a mature buck. I've tried rattling. I've had zero success rattling in my entire hunting career, but I know other people that swear by it. I've just never figured it out, I guess. And I've had the rattle bag, and I've got the black rack thing that came with the extinguisher. But as far as my calling method, like you guys said, don't ever consider trying that mature buck call. I've never had a deer come into that. Just short contact grunts, sounding like Jordan said, like a younger deer, has always worked for me. So my method, and I've talked about this before on other podcasts we've done, is I'll do calls every 10 minutes. And I will do directional calling. So I'll call out in front of me. I'll count to like 30 seconds, call out to my left, count 30 seconds, call behind me. I'm just, each direction I am calling. Deer are a social animal. So they're curious by nature. And if there's a deer in the area, that they're going to come check it out. Now, the downside of that is you, like Dennis said, you are giving away your location every single time you do that. And when that deer comes in, they're on high alert and they are looking. So you've got to be ready. If you're just having one of those days and maybe your mind's in other places or you're playing on your phone or whatever, I've been busted numerous times. You're going to get busted. That deer's going to see you. So if you ever try that method, you got to be on full alert because those deer are going to come in. I've had good success with it. I've had a lot of deer come into those calls.
Brad, how about you?
Well, I know for a fact that I have not had a ton of luck with a grunt call. I'm the same way. I've been through a few of them. I've been through the bone collector. I've been through, oh God, you fall into the hype of all the ones that you see at Bass Pro and you're walking through, and this one's going to get it for you, and that's one's going to, no. I now use the JPO also. I don't have the adjustable one like Tim does. I can pull it apart and change the reed tone, which I've got it set more to a young buck, but the only time I've ever had a deer come in to the grunt was at my own house, hunting my one little small back food plot up against the swamp and creek. I grunted an 8-point in. He was on an aggressive run. He was aggressive though. He was ready to fight, and came in through some thicket, and unfortunately he came in downwind of me and caught my wind and busted me at about 40 yards and took off out of there. But I have had success. I mean, you wouldn't call it a giant, but up north, I rattled in a 4-point. It was the first buck that was ever taken at my cottage. So I let the old 30-06 bark, but I did rattle him in. So, and he came into about 40, 45 yards, and he thought he was the big hoss, but he came into the rattle. He came in to check it out. Like Tim said, they're curious animals. So, but other than that, I have never had luck with the can. I know a lot of people say they use the can, the doe bleat can. I've used them for years. I think I actually finally took them out of my backpack last year because I've hit that can thousands of times and I've never had a response or a deer come in to, no, they just don't. Some people swear by them. I'll swear against them. I've had a few cuss words probably with them out in the woods because they tell you they work and they just don't for me. So, but as far as calling, I usually sit pretty quiet. I'm not a huge caller. Only time I'll rattle is about a 2 week window. I'll throw a couple rattles out here and there, but I don't sit there and beat on that bag for 5 or 6 hours out of the day. I just try to stay quiet and hunt food sources. And, they got to eat. You can handle that. I mean, at my property, here at my house, this year I'm hoping to maybe take a doe or two really early, but I just leave the does alone. Seems like if I keep the girls happy with the food plots and I keep them coming in slowly but steadily as they start cutting crop fields around me, it starts pushing them to my property to come in and eat. So I really don't feel like I need to use much of the calling.
Well, we have another topic to cover here tonight, and there's something important I want to wrap up with at the end of the show this evening, but scents, cover scents, attractants, scent control measures. And we could do an entire podcast on that, but folks, we're going to try to do that in about 5 minutes, rapid fire style here. So I'm going to lead off with this one. Cover scent. If I'm going to use a cover scent personally, I'm going to use pine or I'm going to use cedar. Those are hands down my favorites. I haven't always used a commercial product. Sometimes just on my way in and out of the stand, I'll just grab a handful of cedar, a handful of pine, and I'll just rub it all over my parker, my bibs, or whatever it is, my outerwear, my cap. At one time, I got a little creative and crushed apples. I had a whole bunch of apple juice just from the orchard here at home, and I got a little spray bottle from like Walmart or whatever. And I would take that up in the tree stand with me, and I would just mist it on the tree right behind me as an attractant. I do think I had some success with that. Of course, it also pulled in some bears, which wasn't the intention, but the deer smelled it too from time to time. Like I said, up here for me, it's pine and it's cedar, hands down. And there are a ton of different cover products out there. Some of the old timers, they like to use a little dollop of fox urine on the bottom of their boot or whatever it is. I don't do any of that stuff. As far as scent control measures go, obviously I hunt the wind. But beyond that, I've got a big, huge, long Rubbermaid tote, and I keep all of my hunting gear in that year round. I call it my scent locker. A couple times a year, I'll refresh that with dirt, with leaves, with cedar, some pine boughs, all kinds of junk I'll throw in there, and I'll just let my gear marinate in that. And even during hunting season, if it's not on my body, it goes right in that tote immediately. Obviously, if you get sweated up or something like that, I do use a dead downwind no scent laundry detergent, and it's a UV dampener. That's worked pretty well for me over the years. A little anti-stink. And God bless those wives out there who have been helpful to their husbands and washed it with Era or Tide or whatever over the years. Oh, Jesus.
That's mine. Gotta love it.
That's it in a nutshell for me when it comes to scent control and covers. I prefer the Wildlife Research Center cedar little bottle spray. Fits right in my pack, real nice, real convenient. The downside of that is the ultra cold weather we get in November up here. I've had it freeze solid in the bottle, and you can't use it anyway. Attractant wise, there's as many different estrus scents and synthetics and pinks and all this stuff out there on the shelf. And I personally have not had good luck using estrus scents. I've tried the drags. I've tried mock scrapes. I've tried just hanging a scent wick. It's just never borne fruit for me. And for some guys, they swear by it. But that's me in a nutshell. Dennis, where are you at?
Well, that's a whole lot to remember. Yeah, I'm as far as like scent eliminators, I'm all about it. And I've had a couple of times. I even got on video before I ended up on the team with you guys. I had this buck come in. He was getting hit directly in the face with my wind. It was a horrible day. It kept swirling, but it was hitting him dead in the face, and he could not pick up my scent. I know it only takes one scent molecule and he's out of there, but it had to have been that. There's no other reason why he wouldn't have smelled me. And you can see him in the video. He's wetting his nose, trying to get the molecules to stick, and it worked out. Actually, that was the first buck I ever shot on camera. As far as like cover scents, I don't use any of the like fox urine or none of that stuff. I hose my boots down with the scent killer, walk in. Yeah, the apple juice in the spray bottle, I've used that before. That works. That really does work. And yeah, as far as like estrus and stuff like that, I've seen does come in and smell that and take off running. I've seen that before. But I've also seen bucks come in, especially if I got my my decoy dressed up with it. I've had bucks come in and check it out or not quite get to it, but that's what drew them in, I think, was the smell. But sometimes when they see that decoy, they'll booger up sometimes too. I mean, you never know with these guys. But yeah, I'm as far as drippers and stuff, I swear by those. I get so many camera pictures. That's how I get my pictures mainly, since we can't bait or nothing down here in the lower. I'm running scrape drippers to take inventory basically, and I got all kinds of pictures. And yeah, right around the 26th, I'll start adding that estrus or whatever I can get that's estrus, whether it's buck baits or what's the other stuff? The Wildlife Research Centers, golden estrus. Yeah. That stuff, if it's fresh, it's got the pheromones in it. They definitely come and hit that. Not all the time, but I'm loaded up with buck pictures, one right after the other. When I start running that stuff in there, that's basically what I'm getting on the cameras.
Tim, what's your magic cocktail? What do you do for covers, attractants, and scent control?
Well, over the 30 plus years of hunting, I have fine-tuned the absolute best potion that you will use that guaranteed every time it's going to bring in a booner buck. But unfortunately, I can't share that with you guys tonight. I got to keep that in my back pocket. That's top secret. So if I tell you, I got to kill you. No, joking aside, I would say as far as scent killer or scent elimination, that quite honestly, I think of all the things we've talked about tonight is probably one of the best tools to key in on. I can't say that there's anything that's foolproof though. I've tried it all. I've tried all the different sprays over the years and all the stuff that's, supposed to 100% eliminate. I have not tried the ozonics, which I think Brad will probably talk about that. I do have a ozone locker that I'm doing air quotes, wash my clothes in. And I found that to work out pretty well because that's where your scent is going to be held, is in your clothing, on your boots, any type of fabric, your hair, things like that. So I will use that to wash my clothes. You got to kick on the ozone for about 30 minutes and it eliminates the majority of your scent. Obviously, like Jordan said, you want to play the wind. That's the most key factor, is keeping the wind away from that deer, because that's your biggest opportunity to get busted. As far as cover scents, I think the key there is, I'm gonna use a fly fishing term here, but match the hatch. If you're in a cedar swamp, you're gonna want to use a cedar cover scent. You're not gonna want to spray persimmon cover scent all over yourself. Obviously, I think a dirt cover scent you can't go wrong with. If you try that, I've tried some of the food cover scents like acorn and apple and that stuff. I can't say that it's worked, so I'm gonna have to try the apple juice since you guys presented it. See if that might work. Last thing I would say, as far as attractant scents, I've been impressed with the Conquest Evercalm. I've been impressed with that. I have had deer walk right up to the tree and smell that and even lick it. I've tried the VS one. I've not had a lot of luck with that. As far as the whole estrus thing, I've talked to people that swear they've had bucks come right in and run right up to the scent wick and they shoot them over it, and they're probably true. But when now we're going to get into the deer herd, but the buck to doe ratio is just so out of whack here that more often than not, that buck is already trying to tend to 3 to 8, possibly more does. So another doe and estrus is probably nothing to that deer. So I think, you got to think about it in that sense. And when we talk about some of the other things tonight too, rattling and, some of that mature aggressive calling, I don't think that stuff's going to work in Michigan. Our deer herd is not set up where there's a whole lot of competition. Those bucks don't really need to react in that sense to any of those things. So, can it work? Yes. Will it work? Maybe. So, I use it, but I feel like I'm just kind of wasting time and wasting money. You're just kind of holding out on hope that that'll do the trick for you.
You can always put a carrot on a fishing pole and cast it out there and start reeling it in, see if you can get them to come to the base of the tree.
I guess technically that's not baiting, right?
No, because you're getting it back.
Yeah, if they can't eat it.
Well,
until you reel in this big green guy that's about 210, 6'4".
And then you can tell everybody what you caught during the deer season.
Caught a ticket.
So Brad, what is your go-to system for attractants, covers, and scent elimination? How do you do it?
Let's hope I can hold service here. Guys know me. I'm like Jordan. I live out in the boondocks, and I'm on the travel right now. So, I'm with you, Jordan. I always do wash my clothes. I do like the dead downwind soaps with the UV protectants in them. I always hang dry, and it probably cracks everybody up that drives by my house because I always hang it down my front porch. And now, seeing how I've got 3 or 4 different seasons worth of it, I will literally have Huntworth hanging from one end of my 60-foot long front porch all the way to the other end of my 60-foot long porch. Nothing but camo. I like to leave my camo out for probably about a week. On top of that, I feel like when you do that, for me, it pulls in the local scent too. So around us, we've got cornfields, we've got bean fields, we've got farmers, we've got diesel tractors running. It gives those deer a little bit more of a subtle recognition of. I also, like Tim mentioned, so that's like my pre-prep. I don't use a whole lot of sprays as far as cover scents anymore. I did step into I always thought with being a bigger dude, it's kind of like catching Sasquatch walking across your camera out there in the middle of the woods. I jumped into the electronical side of scent control, and I went to an Ozonics Orion. I have had absolutely great success with that unit. I've had deer come in downwind of me multiple times. A couple years back, I think I even may have sent Tim a video if I did one or not. I don't remember. Hunting a buddy of mine's property. I had like 4 deer out in front of me. I had a spike and some does. Wind was at my back. And you know what? I did like the commercial for Ozonics does, and I turned the unit off. And I'll tell you what, within 10 seconds of me turning that unit off, all 4 of those deer picked their head up and were gone. Absolutely gone. Now, Ozonics, if you're listening, I love your product. It works great. As far as attractant scents, I've used the Black Widow. I've used the Buck Baits. I've done the same as Tim. I'm a very strong believer in the Evercalm. I feel like that smell, I put it on a couple of my ropes, creating the community rope out of it instead of using these pheromones. I want to try something this year. I don't know if you guys carry the thermos. Anybody else use a thermocell?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I see they make the scent pads for them now.
Conquest Scents makes a scent pad that will not only fit their aerosol unit or their vapor unit, but it will fit right into your thermocell. So if you carry a thermocell on you, you can slide that VS1 or you can slide that Evercalm pad in there, and it'll heat it up to where it just emits a little bit of scent off in the air. And I've contemplated ordering. They've got a starter kit for that. I was thinking about ordering that and maybe giving it a whirl this year and just see how it works. But I go kind of basic. I'm the same thing. Most of my blinds on my property are all set up facing the west because God knows most of the time in the fall we've got a west southwest or a northwest wind coming at us. So I try to hunt those winds, and I just, hunting comes down to being at the right place at the right time. No matter what you do, it doesn't matter if you're not there.
Gotcha. Well, there's one last ball I wanted to tee up and hit tonight before we wrap it up for the evening. Some of you that are listening to this right now, you may have followed the very unfortunate outdoor news this week that the two young men that were in their early to mid 20s out in Colorado that had gone missing on an elk hunt were found deceased. There hasn't been official cause of death released, but I've seen commentary from officials that believe it was weather related. The two young men were out there without their gear. They simply had their hunting clothes, and unfortunately, tragedy struck, and those young men lost their lives. You know, I think it's a pertinent conversation to have as we head into the wilderness, the woods and the waters, the wilds of the state of Michigan for the 2025 deer season, to talk about the importance of preparedness when you enter the woods. You know, myself up here in the UP, obviously, you know, I'm hunting some serious country up here, but there are places in lower Michigan as well where you can get yourself in trouble. And it pays to spend the time to educate yourself on basic things, field medicine, land navigation, just simple bushcraft, fire starting techniques, all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, you know, the best camo money can buy and the best rifle or bow that money can buy, those things are not going to save your life if you find yourself in a bad situation. It's knowledge and having the right tools in your bag when unfortunate things happen that make the difference between life and death. And like I talked about earlier in the show this evening, you know, with the safety harness, do the right thing. Do the right thing. Make the small monetary investment to put a few critical items in your hunting pack. You know, we got people that love us that are counting on us to come home. And, you know, in today's day and age, there is a tremendous volume of resources available online through YouTube or any number of things on any subject you want to learn about. You know, how do I make a splint out in the bush if I break my leg? What are, you know, native barks and mosses and whatever that I can use in a pinch if everything in the woods is wet and I got to start a fire? Anything you want to learn about is available at your fingertips. There's no excuse not to know these things. And, you know, we're responsible to take care of ourselves out there and take care of our fellow man and make sure everybody that goes out to the woods comes home to the ones they love. Well, that